All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am Zovig Garboushian. I am back with the Magnolia Chamber of Commerce, this time to talk about getting ahead of burnout. Burnout is the word of the hour. It is so pervasive. It has come across the mouths of everybody in the workforce that I have spoken to. It is hitting women particularly hard, but it's hitting everybody hard. And so the question is, what do we do? What can we do for ourselves to help ourselves if we are approaching and or already in burnout? Or what can we do to help prevent it from occurring? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, just a little bit about me. I'm Zovig Garboushian. My business is called Ablaze Coaching. I am a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a trainer, and I'm a speaker, and I primarily coach high-performing women. I work with leaders on the rise. I lead group trainings and workshops. I myself am a lifelong learner and absorber and transformer. I lead with yes and possibility because I think there is possibility in everything that we do, even things that look bleak and look like a closed door. I always ask I wonder what the possibility is. Equal parts love and fire, fun and intimacy and connection are my core values. And I coach to quiet that inner voice to unleash the inner greatness. And I live just outside of Seattle in Woodinville, Washington. So it's nice to be here with all of you. So let's get started on this topic of burnout. Okay, first, let's just say, what is burnout anyway? Because it's actually being used as a household term a lot. People are saying it much like we do. It becomes part of our daily vernacular. But really where it started, this concept of burnout started in the 30s. And it was most often used to describe the depletion of a worker, but can also be used to describe so many experiences of feeling exhausted, feeling depleted, disconnected, or even dread. And the Mayo Clinic quantifies it as a state of physical or emotional exhaustion that also involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and a loss of personal identity. There are a few different definitions out there, but they all kind of go along in that same thread. So there is another definition that I want to share with you. And this is, the source of this is Dr. Christina Maslach. She's the professor of psychology about healthy workplaces at UC Berkeley. And she describes it as three things: exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficiency. Exhaustion meaning not just physical, but physical, mental, and emotional fatigue. When it comes to cynicism, it's about distancing yourself, feeling like you need to or are distanced from your work psychologically. You feel detached, you might feel negative, you may feel callous. And it doesn't mean it happens all day, every day, but those feelings do arise, maybe at certain times, or maybe it is just a constant feeling for you if you or someone you know. And then the piece about inefficiency is really about feelings of incompetence. You're not sure that you're achieving anything, you're being productive, or you might even feel like you're slipping. But overall, it feels like overwhelm. And it can feel like apathy all at the same time. So it's a really complex thing. And I do want to mention that it can be easily confused with depression. They are not one and the same. They do have similar experiences, but this is not about depression. And so I just want to call that out. This is really about the situational experience of burnout. So I thought it was important to make that distinction. Now, the thing about burnout is it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow burn, pun intended. It creeps in and it builds up over time until you're in it and you don't even know how you got there. You just realize one day that you feel depleted and you felt disconnected from yourself and from your daily life. And since it doesn't happen overnight, there's not a quick fix. But there are things you can do to lessen the burden, to get reconnected with yourself, to find more ease, and to replenish that empty tank. So what I like to do is make things very simple. And I call this the ABCs plus L of getting ahead of burnout. So the core components of this are attention, boundaries, care, and love. So let's dive in first with attention. First things first, everybody, you have to start paying attention to yourself. In order to get ahead of burnout or to remedy burnout or to help yourself out of it, you have to start paying attention to yourself. Alleviating burnout requires that you slow things down a bit and turn your attention inward to you. Now, it's not easy to do this because we're not trained to pay attention to ourselves. We're barely taught how to handle our emotions, let alone address them in a healthy and productive way. What we are taught, however, is it's selfish to attend to our needs. It's weak if we feel tired or overworked, if we can't handle something. We have bigger fish to fry. I don't have time to worry about myself. And it's just selfish. We have this thing around work and emotions being separate. But here the truth is it's okay for you to check in with your emotions, whether when you're at work or where you're everywhere, because you are a whole person. You show up as a whole person in everything you do, no matter what you're doing. So I know we think I'm one way at work and I'm one way at home. And the truth is, maybe you manage yourself a little differently in the workplace or in your business, but you're still the same person. So this is about retraining your brain. And that's what that cutie little brain over there is training yourself to start considering yourself and turning your attention in, paying attention there. How do you retrain your brain? I mean, we can go into this for days and weeks and months, but one thing you can do is to name the emotion that you're feeling. Naming the emotion helps you release the emotion. When you name the thing that you're feeling, you become aware of it. Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling frustrated? Is this confusion? Do you feel impatient or anxious? Any of these feelings or anything else that you might be feeling, acknowledging the emotion allows your body to release the emotions instead of clinging to them, in which case it turns into a feeling. There's a group out there called the Conscious Leadership Group that has a theory that emotions are really just physiological responses, and they can actually come and go within 90 seconds if we release them. But when we attach meaning to the emotion, then we start to cling to it. So if I'm angry about something because so-and-so did something, my employees aren't doing this, or my coworker said this, I've made it mean something about me, and then I cling to it and I hold on to it, that feeling. And that feeling can last for days or months or years. So if we're clinging to our anxiousness or our anger or our confusion, we live in that anxiety for days, and it wears our bodies down physically and mentally. But naming the feeling, naming the emotion acknowledges that it's there. And when you acknowledge something, you can deal with it. When you suppress it, it just gathers force, and then it can release at a later date when you're not ready for it. Or it can eat you up slowly and start to turn into that feeling of burnout. So that's the awareness piece of this. The second piece, the B, is boundaries. And I know you're like, how do I even do that? What does that even mean? It can be outrageous to think that you could say no or even create some space between you and your obligations, but there are ways to do it if you're willing to step into a new way of thinking. So I'm going to give you some steps that you can try on. First, recognizing the people and the situations where you struggle to maintain your boundaries. It's not everything. It's just some things, certain people, certain situations, certain scenarios in your personal or professional life. There might be a group of people who create a sense of pressure that never lets up, or maybe you're a solo business owner and you just cannot find the time to do the work and deal with employees and their challenges. Whatever the scenarios are, get clear on what happens and at what point you lose your ability to stop yourself from stepping in or taking over completely. So the first part is recognition. The second part is identifying the thoughts that go through your head before you say yes or no. When you know where these challenges happen, you have to identify the thoughts that come along with them. As human beings, we have a pattern. We have a thought, it creates a feeling, that creates an action, and that produces a result. And then we loop that over and over and over again. So let's say that your business is doing so well that the volume of work is overwhelming and you're working 12 to 14 hours a day and you're trying to get it all done on top of running your home and your family life. What are the thoughts that go through your head when you have to make choices between spending time having dinner with your family and going and answering several more emails or reviewing a contract? What are the things that you're telling yourself? Get clear on those, because those thoughts will drive your feelings, they'll drive your actions, and they'll produce a result, and you'll do it all over again. So you want to get clear on what that thought is first. The next piece of this is clearing the blocks. There are two kinds of blocks. There are inner blocks and there are outer blocks. Outer blocks are things like money, time, resources. They're all things you can work around. They're all things you can create or fix or change easily. The inner blocks are a little more complicated. They're the stories we have. They're the limiting beliefs we have. They're the assumptions or interpretations or concerns about not being enough of something. So figuring out what those blocks are that keep you from saying no or creating those boundaries is going to be your key to being able to clear those blocks. If your block is time, I don't have enough time. Well, then we sit down and we figure out how to reprioritize the day to create time. But if your block is that it's a story that you have around, I have to do this because no one else can do it, well, then that's a different time of block. And we need to look at what's underneath that block, where that comes from, and how true it is in order for you to be able to clear it out of the way, because it's getting in your way and it's stopping you from being able to create a boundary for yourself. The next piece of this is get support. Your health and wellness are worth the money or the time that it takes to bring someone in or train someone to help you. Hire someone, delegate, use technology. The technology tools to save time today are wonderful. Therapy, if that's what you need, personal trainer to get your mind cleared, a house cleaner, whatever it is, asking for help. Team, there's no shame in asking for help. In fact, it takes a courageous, brave, very smart person to say, I cannot do all of this. I have to figure out another way. I need help. Get the support you need. And the last piece of boundary creating is to reprioritize. Have a seat, grab a piece of paper, list your top 5 priorities between your work and your life, but one or the other or both. And then on another piece of paper, write down how you spend your day, all of the daily actions and tasks that you do every single day, and then cross-reference them. How do they line up? Are you doing tasks during your day that are supporting your priorities? Or are you just in, I got to get this done mode? It will become very clear to you how you're prioritizing things and the actions that you're taking to support the priorities when you write them down in front of you. So those are some steps that you can take to create some boundaries that may seem impossible for you right now, but I promise if you take the time and you have the willingness to look at what's actually going on, you may see places where you can start to create those boundaries. And if all else fails, I suggest this technique. Is it a hell yes or a hell no? Because there is no hell maybe in this world. If something is in front of you that needs to be done or is a task that requires your attention or you want to do, is it a hell yes, I'm into this 100%, or is this a hell no? It's one or the other. And if it falls on the right side in the red, then it's not for you to do. And that's a boundary that you can draw. Because remember, there's no hell maybe. The C in the ABCs is for care. And yes, I'm talking about self-care. We hear about this all the time in the media, on Instagram commercials. It's almost synonymous with spa time or retail therapy. But the truth is, care isn't about spending money on yourself. It's not about you finding extra things to add to your life to care for yourself. If you want to go shopping, you can, and that might make you feel better temporarily. But care is really about doing things that nourish you. Maybe you're an extrovert and this time of Zoom and being home all the time is depleting you. And you need to be around people, connecting with people in ways that are outside of social media. If you're comfortable and feel safe in real life, finding a way to reclaim some playtime, making things fun. I know for me, one of my core values is fun. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. And so I like to create play in everything I do. Finding nourishing activities, whether that's exercise, cooking, a hobby. I know everybody says, find a hobby, but the truth is one small nourishing activity that nourishes a side of you that is, very personal and intimate to you can really create an internal ease and can quell some of the anxiety that we feel. Find a way to get creative. You don't have to be a painter, but you can sit down and draw. You can sit down and write a story. You can read a book. That's creativity. Sit quietly. Oh God, she's talking about meditation. Maybe I might be talking about meditation. I also might just be talking about sitting down with a cup of tea and staring out the window and just having 15 minutes in the morning or in the evening to be quiet without any information coming at you, without any requests, just quiet. Allow yourself to process your emotions and then take care of your physical body, move, eat, and drink. It sounds like duh. but these things are things that they're the first things to go out the window when we get busy and we start paying attention to other people and not ourselves. And the last piece of this is the love, bringing love into what you do. So there is a book called 9 Lies About Work, and the authors say that burnout comes from the absence of being in love with your work. It's not just about loving what you do, but deliberately weaving love into your work. How do you do that? I have so many responsibilities. I can't possibly love everything about I do all the time. Okay, so to that I say, apply this mindset. Try this have to versus get to. Because we often think of our work and actually much of our lives as have tos. I have to go to the store. I have to stay home and work this weekend. I have to spend time with so-and-so. I have to. The problem is that with that mindset, it eliminates our choices in the matter. And the moment we identify something as a have to, it becomes something we do battle with, even subtly, like we procrastinate. That's a little bit of doing battle with something, because you feel you have to do it. When human beings feel obligation, the task immediately becomes work. So how can you change a have to into a get to? One way is gratitude. What are you grateful for? In that moment, the smallest thing. What are you grateful for? If you have to do a mountain of laundry and you have to also answer these emails, get down to the business of what can I be grateful for about the fact that I have this mountain of laundry? Well, maybe it means you have 3 kids and it's their laundry and you love your children. Maybe all of these emails mean that you've gotten to a place of leadership and success that people need you to answer and help them out. These are ways to get to a place of gratitude. What are you grateful for about the things you do? What's your purpose, your original why for how you spend your time? Moving from have to get to is a great way for you to put love into things that you do. And as I mentioned before, it's not just about doing work you love, because you can actually do work you love and still there are parts of it that you hate or that are draining. There are tactical tasks that we have to do every day. We have to do things like invoicing and, filling out paperwork, all of that. Can you find a way to deliberately weave more love into the work you do every day? There was a survey by the Mayo Clinic. It was a physician survey, and it asked, what percentage of your time at work do you do things that you truly love? And what they found was that those who reported spending at least 20% of their day doing things that they loved showed dramatically lower potential for burnout. And every point below that 20% correlated to an immensely larger increase in the potential of burnout. So removing the love, if you remove the love, then the work just grates and grates and grates until it hurts. Putting love into your work, it's a skill. Finding love in what you do rather than doing what you love is a skill. It's not just about finding a job that happens to be shaped by what you love. It's about you being deliberate about putting you into it. If you gain energy from something, then find ways to weave more of that into the work and do it deliberately every single day. And I'm focusing on the word deliberate because so much of what we do every day is just rote. We just go, we do, it's habitual. We know we got to do stuff and we're just on autopilot. Sometimes if you've ever experienced you're driving and somehow you ended up at home and you didn't know how you got there, but you are just on autopilot. So pausing to create deliberate ways that you can weave more love into your work, excuse me, is going to lighten the load. It's going to ease the burden. It's going to ease the burnout. Clinging to those things you love gets you through. You blossom, you flourish, you want to do it again. You are not depleted, you are built up. Unfortunately, most of work is not about love. We talk about work as working hard and having a grind, and it's about productivity and getting things done and the bottom line. And you can force yourself, and companies can force us, and it can force our clients to work in that way. And we can buy into that story. But that means we're restricted, because then it's just about us getting things done. And we're bigger than that. So consider, if you really want to flourish and be intrigued and resilient, then finding a way to weave love into your work and get curious about how you can do that for yourself is going to shift things for you in terms of feeling or experiencing burnout. And there is a way that you can, well, how do I do that? How do I weave more things, weave love? Try this experiment. You take a week and you take a piece of paper around with you all day, and you draw line down the center and create two columns. One side is the things that you love. The other side are the things that you loathe. Every time you do something you love, small things, small tasks, short tasks, whatever they are, write them down in the love column. And every time you do something that you loathe, write them down in the loathe column. Just get really present to how you spend your day and where you put your time and energy. And that might be enough for you. But after you've made that list for one full week, take a look and see if there's a way for you to weave more of the things that you on the love side into your day. And can you delegate, offload, or outsource the things that you don't? Because somebody out there, someone's going to love the things you hate. At the end of all of this, to get ahead of burnout is going to take willingness, is going to take courage, and it's going to take some discipline on your part to start thinking differently, considering yourself and your environment and your setup, your day-to-day habits differently. It takes effort. Like I said, it's a slow burn. It doesn't happen overnight, which means it's going to be a new practice for you to look at how you can ease and disappear the burnout. And there's always help out there. There's plenty of resources for people, between coaches and therapists, potentially mentors, colleagues, friends. There are so many people out there ready and willing to help. But at the end of the day, it comes back to you in your willingness and your courage and your discipline around taking good care of yourself. So that's what I have for you today around getting ahead of burnout. Thank you so much for taking time to watch. I'm Zovig Garboushian. If you have any questions or you want to talk about this more, you can reach me at zovig@boldnessablaze.com. All right. Thank you so much. Take care. See you soon.